chronic pain has become an epidemic, with over 100 million Americans suffering from debilitating condition daily. Naturopathic doctor and certified nutritional counselor Joseph Christiano has written a book called Living Beyond Your Chronic Pain, 8 Simple Steps to Pain-Free and Healthy Life. Dr. Joe, thank you for coming and being with us.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
First time meeting with you, although I know you've been on Cornerstone before.
Yes, I have.
So a lot of our staff are happy that you're back.
Yeah, well, good. It's good to be back. It's like coming back home.
Well, so I'm glad to meet you. And you wrote a book about chronic pain, and we're going to have several times to talk about pain, and you'll be back on this program later on too. But let's start out with just a little bit of an introduction to yourself and what got you connected to this topic of pain.
Okay, well, one, I'm very physical. I've been very physical since I was a kid. Got involved in sports and weightlifting. Weightlifting really became my love, my joy in life. But I also dealt with chronic back pain, even way back into my high school years.
Personal?
Personal, yeah. And I learned how to deal with it through the years. I was young, and you're able to stay active and you're healthy. But as you get older, the body starts breaking down naturally. And sure enough, in my later years, it was really starting to take a toll on me. And so I've dealt with this pain for about 25 years, but in the last 8 years, it's been crippling pain. About a year ago, I was walking around with a walker, bent over, and I thought my life was over. But in the course of my journey, suffering from chronic pain, I always believe that there's a light at the end of the tunnel. Even though I was in the darkest moments of my life, even though the pain was excruciating, even though I was losing sleep, and I know people that have chronic pain feel that and are experiencing that, and there's no hope. You can't see beyond the walls.
Right.
And I want people to understand that there is hope. And in the book, I share that because besides the practical applications that a person can do to be healthier and stronger, there's the emotional side. And that's very, very important because we give up, or we get beat down and we give up.
Well, one thing I remembered about reading in your book is the amount of people who suffer from chronic pain. I was amazed. Would you share how there's a lot?
Well, it's amazing. You mentioned earlier there's like over 100 million people in America itself, but 1.5 billion people worldwide. And this is on a day-to-day basis. I show a study in the book where the combination of cancer pain, diabetic pain, and other pains combined can't match people who suffer with chronic pain, joint pain, back, knees, elbows, hands, things like that. And they don't know what to do. Typically we go to the doctor, we get an examination, and they may give us a light dose of some medication to put the fire out, so to speak, an anti-inflammatory, as we talked about. But then it'll go into heavier drugs. It'll go into some of these opiates that are damaging. And these opiates then play tricks on your mind. But the medical community, without bashing them, there's a place for them, but that's their protocol. Medication. Well, our bodies are not deficient from medication. We're not void of medication. What we need is to understand how to build the body up, how to feed the body, how to exercise and train the body, and then how to think properly. Because we're triune, and we have the body, the mind, and the spirit. And we have to develop a balance, but we have to understand that there's hope. I'm a walking example of this. My wife and I used to walk the beach. We live in Daytona Beach, in that area, and every night we'd go down there and chill out. We'd walk the beach for hours and hours. Well, what happened is as my back and hips started getting worse, it got to the point where I couldn't even walk from the car to the water.
Oh boy.
Yeah, and my whole life started to go downhill.
And the downhill gets faster. It seems like it escalates as you go down. Well, there's 8 simple steps. I don't think we have time to go into depth about that, but give some of our viewers a little hope on what they can do. They can get the book and get all the details, but what are some of those steps?
Well, the number one thing I talk about is eating, because we have to fuel our bodies, and how to fuel it properly, not by going on a diet, but what works best for you might not work best for Terry, not work best for me. And so I explain that because it's based on your blood type, your genetics, okay? So I factor that in. I show people in there how that sets the groundwork or the baseline to build up from there. And then I talk about cleansing. Your body cannot heal if it's toxic. And if you're taking medications, if you're eating the wrong foods, if you're drinking the wrong beverages, your body's building toxicity throughout the body, the liver in particular. And we need to cleanse it, and the colon. So I go into great detail, and there's some wonderful testimonials in the book how people were struggling. I don't want to go into it. I want them to see it themselves. I talk about how to exercise properly. I know we're always talking about exercise, you know, to lose weight and look great. Well, that's a byproduct if you do the right things for your body. So I talk about body types. You know, there's a certain way to exercise based on your genetics, but there's also a way to exercise based on your age and your condition. We talk about functional fitness. In other words, if a person is 50 years old, do they function as a 60-year-old? Or does a 50-year-old function as a 40-year-old? So it's got to do with the chronological, or the clock on the wall, and then our functional age. Can't do anything about the clock on the wall, but we can turn our functional age down. In other words, we can live a healthier, more vibrant life by doing some of these things. So I talk about that. I talk about vitamins. I talk about which vitamins help to put the fire out, those joints that are inflamed, or when a person who has rheumatic conditions and they have these flare-ups. What do you do, you know? There's ice packs. I talk about all these treatments that a person can do. In other words, I've gone as far as Honduras to learn techniques and treatments that are optional, natural, instead of opting for surgery. I know there's a lot of people that are facing surgery, and I want them to know in the book, there's options they can try instead of having surgery.
Because people don't know.
Yes.
Right.
And if you're knee replacements, hip replacements, very common, very common.
Yes, and you get that message from the doctor, you need surgery. Well, I tell people in the book, try everything natural first.
That's your message, isn't
Yes.
it?
Right.
Do everything you can.
Yes, and that there's hope.
Absolutely.
Because I'm my walking billboard from a year ago in a walker to now working out, walking the beach, doing the things I want to do again. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to hear that even though on your clock might say you're one age, you can actually change reverse it and be function. So, hey, maybe I could go back to my 20s or something like that.
Or maybe you can.
Maybe I can.
That would be a good
No,
thing.
you can.
You just patted me. So
I know.
like,
Well,
you know, good.
well, what I read the book. First of all, congratulations on making it easy to read.
Thank you.
It's a flow. The book flows. I enjoyed reading it. I took a lot out of it. I know a lot about this topic, and you taught me some more things. I like the stem cell.
Yes.
We don't have time to talk about that. We'll do it at another point.
Great.
Stem cell. Deep breathing exercises.
Deep breathing, yes.
Very
It
important.
releases the pain.
We're out of time for this segment, but I'm excited that we can start the conversation. You can get the book. You can get the book. Well, I guess in different. We'll tell you where it's available. Come to our website. There's a picture of it. We'll give you a link to where you can get this book. I think it's important. If you're hurting, then you need to know what you can do to stop hurting. We'll be back with more with Dr. Joe later, but we'll be back. Terry's going to show us how to exercise and be in good health. We'll be right back.